I told you, didn't I? I told you in this video we're going to talk about steam, which is really kind of water just being heated up, and now we've got steam that we can do other things with. So steam can be used in the manufacturing arena just like water can, just like any of some of these other utilities. Oh gosh, there's the title of the chapter. They can be used just as easily. So steam can be used for a number of different things. Number one, we can use steam to actually heat water, or what we call processed liquids. Not everything is water-based, right? So sometimes we've got liquids that we need to heat up other than water, and steam can allow us to do that. And the reason is because steam carries a little bit hotter of a temperature. And number two, steam can also be used to sterilize equipment and process streams. So we can use steam to heat water to do other purposes with, or we can use steam in our sterilization process so that way we can keep everything nice and tidy and clean. So steam can be used for either one of these purposes quite commonly. And, depending on your manufacturing facility, depending on the company that you're working for, you might see both, or you might see one of the other. I mean, who knows what they're doing at that particular type of location, but steam is probably going to make its way in some form or in some fashion. So there's actually going to be two different types of steam, as you can imagine. Facility steam is also called dirty steam. Oh, you dirty, filthy animal, right? Okay, well, dirty steam just means that it is coming from water, and that water is not necessarily pure. So that because that water is not pure, it's probably not making what we would call pure steam in a way. And this steam is actually not going to be coming in contact with any of your APIs or any of your products that you are making on the manufacturing line. So just like everything else, right? So it's always the idea of what's coming in contact with the pharmaceutical ingredient. So the dirty steam is not for API or pharma related contact. It's never going to come into the vicinity of that realm. But that steam can be used for other things, right? So it can be able to treat waste, it can heat up stuff, it can heat up these bioreactors, these fermenters, blah, 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 blah. But it's not coming in direct contact. That's the thing with dirty steam. Clean steam, though, clean steam is coming from a water source that is going to be pure, and that water source is often made from water for injection or another type of purified water source that's going to be acceptable for what it's going to be coming in contact with. So this is going to have direct contact, and this direct contact, we always need to make sure that we take extra precautions here, and this is where we need to have the cleanest of the cleanest types of situations, reagents, chemicals, whatever the case might be, and steam is one of those as well. So clean steam and dirty steam often found different purposes. Again, just like water, there was dirty, filthy water that was used for other things, and then we had to make super clean water if this was going to be water for injection. Steam is the same way, folks. So that's not surprising. At least I hope it's not surprising, because we have harped and harped and harped and harped about this the whole time, about pieces and tanks and fermenters and popping and valves and pumps. Is it coming in contact? Is it not coming in contact? Does it need sterile? Does it need non-sterile conditions? What's going on? Okay, well, steam, again, is finding itself in the same type of conversation. Steam, there's actually 3 different levels of steam here. Up to 80 psi of steam can be used in the manufacturing type of arena or within the facility that you're working with. And the higher the pressure, the higher the temperature. They normally go hand in hand here. So what that means is that, if I increase the temperature of the water that's making the steam, then I increase the pressure as a result. And I can also do the other route. I can increase the pressure, and by increasing the pressure, I can increase the temperature of whatever type of supply that we are using. So they are direct relationed to each other. As one goes up, the other goes up. As one goes down, the other goes down. So higher pressures will often mean hotter temperatures, but we don't necessarily need to go to 80 psi all the time for every single thing that we do in the manufacturing world, or maybe within the laboratory world. So 15 psi, which is 250, give or take, degrees Fahrenheit. But we don't really talk about Fahrenheit. We like to talk about Celsius. Celsius is just kind of the scientific term that's used for temperature globally, right? Worldwide. United States and just another, couple of countries are still using Fahrenheit. But Celsius is where it's at. So that is 121 degrees Celsius. This is a very important temperature, and that 121 degrees is going to make sure that sterilization is taking place. So that is the temperature that we need to be working with, and that temperature is simply due to the sterilization that has to happen both in product maybe as well as in all of the materials and equipment that that product has come in contact with. We need to sterilize everything that we can. Now, in a laboratory setting, we have this type of thing, and these are often called autoclaves. And these autoclaves will be very, very small, sometimes countertop size boxes that we can put very small things in and close the door. And those autoclaves can heat up to 121 degrees, and it will sterilize whatever I put on the inside to make sure that it's clean and safe to use, right? Well, okay, if a countertop size is not good enough for me, then we also have autoclaves that are floor models. So they will sit on the floor or stand on the floor, and they will be as tall as me, right? And I can open up the door and I can put things on the inside of them, and I can close the door back. It still heats to 121, and then it keeps it there for quite some time, and then it just sterilizes whatever can fit into that bigger oven area. Well, okay, these types of pieces of equipment that's used on the manufacturing line, not very tiny, okay? So they're not going to fit on a desktop autoclave. They're not going to fit inside of a, person height autoclave. So we need to make sure that we do things a different way, but the concept is still there. So these autoclaves or the sterilization process that you will do on the manufacturing line both require a couple of things. Number one, we need to make sure that we go to 121 degrees Celsius, and that pressure should be around 15 psi. If it is, then that means that my autoclave is working the proper way, or my sterilization technique is going the proper way. So as you can imagine, if I've got these vats and these vats need to be sterilized, I'm going to put some steam into them. The vats need to be closed off. The vats need to build up pressure. That pressure needs to be 15 psi, and it needs to hang out there for a little bit. And the temperature on the inside needs to be around 121 degrees Celsius. If not, then sterilization is not really being followed. So those are going to be kind of the two regulatory pieces that we need to monitor and track throughout the sterilization process there. All right. What you're seeing in the picture here is just another high purity water system. And this is going to be high purity water that's going to end up making some steam. So that steam is going to be used for many different purposes on the manufacturing side of the house. And, it really, again, is just up to us to kind of figure out what is the nature of that steam that we are generating. Does it need to be super clean, or can we get by with just regular steam that I can generate maybe at the house with my pot of boiling spaghetti water? I mean, it feels like hot vapor coming off of that, right? So is that kind of steam? Well, kind of, yeah, it is, right? And I can put my face in it, and I can give me a nice little steam facial, and my face will feel all good and burnt and red. So, the difference, though, is that in real working type of situations, we're working with much hotter temperatures, and we're working with much higher pressures with that. There are two things that we need to talk about. Sip and sip. No, not sip and sip. That's what you do on Friday and Saturday nights. Sip and sip, it's really CIP and SIP. CIP is clean in place, and SIP means steam in place. So there are situations here where, okay, this is getting used to make stuff in the picture. So how on earth do we clean these things? Okay, they have to be cleaned. It's just like your dirty dishes at your house. You don't just keep using the same skillet over and over and over without ever cleaning it out. So how do we clean these things out? Because the problem here is that they're big and they're bulky and they're heavy and they can't quite move from their locations that easily, right? So how do we clean them in place? Which means how do we clean them without moving them away from their location? And how do we steam them in place? So that's what these two terms are referring to. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. So CIP is a clean in place situation that uses detergents here. And when I say detergents, I'm not talking about Palmolive, okay? I'm talking about very safe, low sud, most of the time, detergents that can go in there and eat away at stuff and clean things out a little bit better. Suds are kind of bad in some of these situations, so we don't like a lot of foam. We don't like Bath & Body Works Bubble Bath here in these clean-in-place systems, but we do need some detergents that can actually eat away at some dirt, some grime, and some maybe sludge buildup over a course of time. So these detergents are going to be pumped into maybe these vats or into these areas, and high pressure and high temperature is going to be controlled. So that way this hot detergent solution can constantly go in and circulate, almost like a dishwasher or a washing machine, that can go in and circulate and make sure that it comes in contact with the entire area of that particular piece of equipment that you are using. So this is one of the ways that we can clean in place, or CIP. SIP is steam in place, and that's going to be used to sterilize. So clean is not the same as sterilization. They are slightly different, and sterilization is often using steam in some form or fashion in order to get to those really high temperatures and really high pressures. Okay, so for instance, with SIP, or steam in place, you are going to be going to at least 121 degrees Celsius. Well, water boils at 100. This is the boiling point of water here. So if I've got detergent solutions and I'm heating that up to 121 degrees and I am doing a clean in place method, that doesn't quite make sense, because that means my detergent solutions are going to be boiling and they're going to evaporate and they're going to go away. I mean, this is going to be almost impossible. But that's cleaning. I don't need to go that high, maybe. I don't need to kind of go to 121 for a certain length of time under a certain pressure. I'm simply just cleaning them with hot detergent solutions, circulating through, making sure it kind of looks pretty good. That's what we're after here. The steam in place is going to be different, because this is really where we want to go to that temperature and at 15 psi. So everything is locked down, everything is pressurized, steam is getting to be used, and it's sterilizing the inside, not cleaning the inside. That's how these two things are going to be different. So we keep it there for a period of time, and then after that time is over, then that sterilization process is now completed. So that is kind of the difference between CIP and SIP. I like to refer to them as sip and sip, just because it reminds me of those Friday and Saturday nights. But I'm not promoting you to be an alcoholic, all right? But, you know, a nice little beverage of some sort, whether that is your beverage of choice or what, that could be your nice little sip and sip on the weekends as well. So CIP and SIP: clean, sanitize, sterilize. So sanitation and sterilization is a little different. I want to clear that up as well. If you're sanitizing something, you are reducing. That is the key word. Oh, okay, there we go. Reduces microorganisms. So sanitation allows some of these microorganisms to exist. Okay, they're still remaining, they're still there. They're not truly all 100% dead, but that is the definition of sanitize. So sanitize is different than sterilize, because sterilize means everything, kill, 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 kill. Everything is dead. Nothing remains at all, period. So sterilization, going to 121 degrees Celsius, going to 15 psi, keeping it there for long periods of time, that is sterilizing your equipment and the things and the tools that you are using. That is not sanitizing. Sanitizing means it is clean and it looks pretty good, but not everything is dead. There's no guarantee of that at all. It could be, but there's no guarantee that everything is just completely whacked out of commission. Okay. As far as wash cycles go with clean in place systems, there's typically a couple of stages here. A lot of times WFI is going to be used because, keep in mind, these areas that are getting cleaned, these areas that are getting sterilized, these are areas that your product is coming in contact with. So water for injection preferably used here because it's coming in contact with a surface that will be kind of holding the future batches of whatever type of pharma material that you are making. So pre-rinsing a lot of times has to happen. Water for injection is going to be used for the pre-rinsing. Then there's a couple of washes. There could be detergent washes that are basically in water for injections or very high purity grade types of water, depending on what we're making. If it's not injectables, then again, we got a little bit looser kind of definition that we can go by. But if it is an injectable, we got to keep this in mind. So after detergent washes, there's a couple of rinse cycles as well. Detergent wash is going to be great. Caustic wash. What's caustic wash? Well, caustic is anything that we are referring to as a base. So if something's basic, then it typically has a pH greater than 7, okay? And the reason that we like bases is because it can destroy cells and it can destroy living things. Even the tissue on your arms and your fingers and your hands, it can eat away at. So greater than 7 as far as pH goes, we are using caustic material. And very often one of the cheapest types of bases is sodium hydroxide. And sodium hydroxide, aka, is lye. All right. So typically a base wash can be used. Acid washes are also pretty common. Acid washes can be hydrochloric acid. It can be nitric acid, maybe. A few different choices that are out there. But these acids are going to have a pH that's going to be lower than 7. That is why they are deemed as an acid. It's all about the activity of the protons here. And then after we go a couple of those washes, then we can rinse maybe a couple of times with water for injection. And water for injection, again, if it's an injectable, absolutely. But depending on the nature of the material that I am making, we might not need that high quality type of water, but we need something very high purity in place as a substitute if that's going to be the case. I also want to say that if you are working in the lab, glassware has to be cleaned, and glassware can often go through these processes as well. So I can take glassware in the laboratory facility. We can have these fancy dishwashers that will wash the glassware for me, and a lot of times they will pre-rinse it with DI water. They will send an acid or a base wash into the system to clean everything, all the dirt and grime, and then we will rinse it multiple times, 3 or 4 times maybe, with cycles of deionized water. That way it can drain and fill back up with a clean set of water that it can rinse with. And then if it lushes anything out of that, then it can drain that out of there and give it a new type of, or new set of water, or a new bucket of water, I guess, to rinse with in between. Sterilization process. Again, high temperature, high pressure. So there's a couple of things that you want to make sure that happens here with sterilization. Number one, you want to perform a leak test. And the reason is because if it can't hold pressure, it's not going to be able to fully complete the sterilization process here. So can it build pressure up, and can it hold the pressure that you have set? Again, most of the time 15 or something close PSI is what's going to be used. And a leak test is going to make sure that that pressure gauge can fill up to around 15 under normal circumstances and hold 15 for a certain length of time. If it cannot do that, there's an error code that's sent and it's saying, you know what, I can't do this. Sorry, the leak check has failed. Our autoclaves and our sterilizers, they actually have these leak checks built into the system, and the machines will go through their own leak check in the beginning before we actually use them to make sure that it can hold that temperature and pressure without a problem. Number two, it then heats up to 121, and again, super hot. It's hotter than boiling water. Boiling water, once more, is 100 degrees Celsius, so this is going to be a little bit hotter than that. Number three, it then dwells. What that means is that it holds it. So that's what we call the dwell time. So dwell time is keeping it at that temperature and at that pressure for a amount of time that you have specified for that instrument to do. It could be 15 minutes, it could be 30 minutes, it could be 45 minutes, it could be 60 minutes. Whatever the case is, you have determined a time that works for that process that you are doing. And that time interval has to be upheld. And number four, there's always going to be a cool down process, and that cool down process will slowly vent, and it will lower the pressure down, it will lower the temperature down to a point where in a laboratory setting you can open the door and take out the tools that have now been sterilized, but in the manufacturing type of setting where it's now safe to use and we can put it back into the manufacturing type of line and we can get it back up and going again, making product. And making product means making paycheck. As far as my job with steam, as far as a technician is concerned, again, we want to monitor the pressure of all the steam systems that are in place, making sure that nothing crazy is going on. We don't want pressure gauges to overfill, and we don't want pressure gauges to plummet. So we want nice and steady stream here. Number two, avoid steam collapse. So there is a chance that you've done that lab activity as well in person. And the last thing that we want is some type of vat or some type of situation where a fermenter, a bioreactor, or whatever the case is, it has been superheated, super hot, and then for some reason it can't vent itself properly, and then we get a crunch, and it just kind of collapses on itself. We don't want that to go on. So for that reason, steam collapse is going to be something I need to keep my eye on. So once more, take a look at pressures, take a look at temperatures, make sure things can vent. That venting process is going to be pretty important. Number three, avoid burns. Come on now, folks, right? I mean, these are things that I have to say, but these are super hot, and everything on the outside can get super hot as well. So you want to make sure that you are handling it with care, that you just don't carelessly come in contact with some of this really extremely hot metal or whatever types of material that these things are made out of and burn and scald yourself. That could be a trip to the hospital if you're not very careful. And number four, steam popping. A lot of people forget about this, but all of that popping is hot, hot, hot. So you want to stay away from it, handle it with care, right? I mean, I know that we're always focused on the area that we are, sterilizing maybe, right? So we're so concerned with that we forget about all of the feeder popping that goes into it. All of that is under the same temperature and pressure as well. So all of that is also going to be hot if we're not very careful. And if we get careless and kind of bump up against it or come in contact with it in some form or fashion, that can be a very big problem. So this is my story with steam, another utility. Oh, whoa, words again, right? Names of titles. Another utility that we can use in the manufacturing process and how it's used and why it's used. And a little bit of definitions between sterilization and sanitation and some insight of the laboratory work, right? I mean, some of you might be interested in the laboratory work. And if so, that's great. We would love to have you. Some of you want to be on the manufacturing line. If so, great. More power to you. But I think it's important for me to give you a bigger overreaching idea of what's going on in these companies. And I think the laboratory portion should also stand out a little bit because that is keeping us up and running. So that way we are making sure that we are making quality products here. All right, so in the next video, we're going to continue on with utilities.